Okay, so our first question is, what does the term invention? Okay, so our first question is, what does the term inventions mean to you?
What does it mean to me?
Yeah.
Well, we use the term of art, which we say is means that this is a term that's well known by everybody and it's very specific. And when we talk about inventions, we're talking about things that are currently not known by everybody, and so it's trying not to be too technical about my answer.
Okay, so our second question is, do you think most inventions have a negative or positive impact on humanity?
I think the inventions themselves they don't have any conscience or any, they're not right or wrong, they just are new things that people think of. And I think it all depends on how people use them. And I think that's ultimately what everything comes down to is you can have a knife, and a knife can be something very beneficial, like when a surgeon uses it to save somebody's life. And it can also be something very dangerous and hazardous when somebody wants to hurt somebody else with it. And the same thing with basically everything. If somebody wants to use it for good, even though it's something scary or dangerous, it doesn't necessarily make it bad. But if somebody wants to use, something like a pillow for something dangerous, they can, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Which invention has changed your life the most?
Well, the computer has really changed my life a lot, and the internet has also changed my life quite a bit. So I would say those things have probably changed my life the most. But if you look back, and if I take it in a much more broad sense, there's certain things that enable us to work together as humanity that are very important, that we would all be like fighting in tribes and killing each other if we didn't have government, and if we didn't have laws, and if we didn't have ways of being towards each other, and writing, and ways to communicate. So all of these things are inventions that were made a long time ago that allow us to live together and work collectively as a society to make things good for everybody.
What is the process that someone has to go through
If they want to invent something? Well, I think, as I mentioned, I think the first thing that you have to do is understand what's already there and why what's already there does what it does and why it's there. And then you can start looking at why it's not good enough or why it needs to be improved, and then you can start making improvements to it. And I think the most important thing to be a good inventor is to just keep trying. I mean, you don't have to have an idea that you're going to sit down in a room and not talk to anybody for a long time and all of a sudden come up with something that changes the whole world. What you do is you try this, and you give it to your friends, and they try it. Maybe you make a new cake recipe, and you let everybody try it, and they say, oh, you know what? It needs a little bit more strawberries in it. And so then you try it again, and you try it again. The idea is that there's no failure. The only failure is when you quit, or if you don't try, or you don't start. That's a failure. But just because you make something, if it doesn't work, you at least learn that doesn't work, and then you can try something else. Yeah?
Okay. What is your responsibility, or what do you do in your job?
What do I do in my job? I yell at people.
That's all.
No. I have the responsibility of the physical research infrastructure of a university here in the UAE. And I take care of a bunch of equipment and a bunch of laboratories, and I make it available for people to use so that they can support their research and learn how the world works.
Okay. What invention do you think has harmed the society in like a negative way the most?
Well, to be honest with you, this might not be a good answer for a young group of school kids, but money and religion. I think both of those have had a lot of a lot of bad repercussions from them, and I think we need to think about those inventions a little bit. Well, I think they come about for a lot of different varieties of reasons. I think those are both reasons that they happen. There's lots of different societies, and there's lots of different ways that people gain rewards from societies. And some people like to do things because they make money, so some inventions happen because people want to make money. But other inventions happen because people want to take care of other people or want to do something that changes the world. And so, certain inventions, like, do you know who Jonas Salk is? Jonas Salk invented the polio vaccine, and he didn't patent it. He said, I've invented this, and I'm not going to charge anybody to use it because I want the world to have access to this for free.
Which inventions have changed the world the most for the whole world?
Well, I think it depends what period of time you're talking about. Today in the modern world, I think computers have changed it enormously, and the internet has also changed it enormously. Well, I think it depends what period of time you're talking about. Today in the modern world, I think computers have changed it enormously, and the internet has also changed it enormously. But it's also very important to understand that in our world of 7 billion people, there's half of the people in the world don't have access to a computer. So even though there's computers and there's a lot of people that have a lot of access to computers and a lot of money and a lot of food and everything because their society has got access to those things, there's still other people in the world that don't. And so we need to work on how we can make the world better for everybody.
Okay, so what do you think the future of inventions will look like?
Well, I think anything that you can imagine eventually will be invented. So, that's one answer. If you want a more technical answer, power is our problem. So everything that we've invented in the modern era, which is in the last 100 or 150 years, has increased our use of power. So it's very limited things that have reduced how much power we use. Even when we make a more efficient light bulb, we just put more of them up, and so we're using more power. And so when you look at how much electricity was generated a few hundred years ago, there was no electricity generated. Nobody needed cell phone chargers and things like that. If we keep going at the way we're going, we're going to run out of our ability to generate power. So we're going to have to work on either new ways of generating power or more efficient ways to use the power that we're generating. And that's major areas. The other things we're going to have to invent are better access to food, because even today in our world, even though we're capable of producing enough food so that nobody in the world has to starve to death, people still do starve to death. So that's a very important thing that we need to do. And I think a lot of this will be society inventions that we make. We're going to invent better ways of working together and living together and having countries and things like that, so that one country doesn't fight with another country and then people starve and get killed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bravo or something like that.
Good questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Opening one. Very nice.
Okay.
Excellent answers.
Thank you.